Conspiracy Corner with Tim and Josh. This is going to be interesting. We're going to try something new. The reason why we're doing the show is because, as most of our listeners are going to know in the beginning, that we do another show. And before we do that show, we always do a pre-show. And it always seems like me and Josh start arguing about conspiracy things. And it was
I wouldn't
suggested
say
that.
arguing.
Well, no, but yeah. So we're going to try this out, see how it goes. This is totally for fun. Nothing that we say on here is going to be opinions of everybody on the RPM podcast. This is just for fun when me and Josh are going to try this out. And with that, I welcome Josh Matthews in the Josh Matthews Family Studios. You ready to go, Josh?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be. I mean, this is episode 1, so I don't know
Yeah.
how this is going to turn out. I like Tim, like you said, this could be the greatest thing we ever did, or it could be the biggest mistake.
Yeah. Either way, we're going to have fun, and a lot of people have been talking about this, so here we go. Um, we're going to talk about, not tonight, but as the show goes on, we're going to talk about everything from, Bigfoot, UFOs, conspiracies with Area 51 and all that stuff. And how everybody gets started in, when you're a little kid, you hear campfire stories, or your uncle tells you a story about a haunted house or anything like that. I'm sure, Josh, you have stories like that from when you were a kid,
hmm
and we can get right into it. The way I got started when I was a little kid is I had an uncle. We called him Uncle Chick, and he could tell a very good story, and most of them were alcohol related. By the time he was telling them, a couple that I remember when I was a kid is that he claimed he lived in a house in Englishtown, and up in the attic you would hear what sounded like a broomstick being poked on the floor, and he claimed that it was a one-legged pirate ghost from the shipping days of back in when America was first being started, and he told the tale that one time he was up there, he was in the house, and just you could hear the pounding of this leg. It was his wooden leg, and all of a sudden this phantom came down the stairs and chased him out of the house, and it just stories like that made me as a little kid wonder what was going on in this world. Another one he told, and this one hit home a little more later on in life. He told a story that my family has a lot of relatives in Virginia and West Virginia, and they all go hunting in West Virginia. A lot of our relatives from up here go down there for hunting season, and supposedly there's a hunting piece of property that they own that's haunted, and you could feel like animals and stuff rub up against you as you walk through the woods, and people pull on the back of your shirt, and there's nobody there. And as my life goes on, I was watching the show one time on TV, and they talked about a haunted woods in West Virginia. So that one grew a little bit of legs as
Is
life
that
goes on.
is that anywhere near that like a abandoned amusement park out there?
It very well could be. I don't know the exact area. He never said the exact area.
Okay. Because I know that there's it was an amusement park that's been abandoned for many years, and like they once in a while they let people in to explore, and it's got that whole eerie vibe because everything's growing over it and falling apart.
Yes. Apparently, we'll get into maybe another show. West Virginia has a lot of folklore for some reason. A lot of stories come out of
Well,
West Virginia.
if you meet the folk from West Virginia, it explains some of it.
And so on from there, it just grew on, and where I got interested in certain things as life goes on. And now in today's age, anything's a click away on the internet. You can type in anything you want and find a story about it. So I don't know, Josh, you got anything you want to add from when you first got interested?
All right, so I think what really first got me into well, a lot of people look at conspiracies and the mythos kind of stuff and things of the supernatural and aliens. They're kind of like lumped into that whole like weird stuff. Like you think X-Files, it can be a whole range of things from Wendigos to to obviously the aliens are kind of like the one of the main plot points. Um, so there was I think we were waiting for like a meteor shower or something, and like we really weren't seeing anything, and I was in grade school, and I came inside, it's like bedtime, and my dad comes and was like, I was like, did you see anything? And he goes, yeah, UFO just flew over, and he was just being a jerk. But I didn't know what a UFO was at this point, and so my parents told me like, oh, it's like an alien spaceship or whatever, on an unidentified flying object, and I was like, that sounds really cool. So then when they would have like all those like sightings shows on like Discovery or or whatever it was, I couldn't get enough of that stuff, and yeah, then I became that weird kid that would read up on that stuff. So that's
Yeah,
kind of how I got into it. I mean, I have, you know, I wouldn't necessarily call them ghost stories, but some really weird occurrences and things that have freaked me out over the years. And we'll get into those stories. We may interweave them, maybe do one each episode for a while, until we run out. And yeah, we'll just take it as it goes. But that was really kind of like. My first thing of like, all right, that's weird, and as a kid, you could get scared of some of the stuff, but I was still intrigued by it, and I couldn't get enough. I wanted to read more. Like I didn't. I love like the X Files, but I didn't care for the Goosebumps stories or like the Stephen King stuff.
yeah, yeah. It's always about the question why or how. Yes, that gets you. Your story reminded me of one story that I had. It was me and a couple of my friends. We were just sitting outside one night. It was a summer night. And it was clear out, and way up in the sky, you could see like this two really bright lights. They were definitely some kind of mechanical thing. And then from the top one to the bottom one, we were watching a light drop from the top one and go to the bottom one, and it was really really weird. We were all freaked out. We all thought we were cool because we finally saw a UFO, and come to find out the next day it was the Navy or the Army, whatever. They were practicing how to fuel planes in the air. That's all it was. They got the plane to come up and fly over the other plane and fuel it up in the air.
Yeah, yeah.
It was one of those. Is all that it
So
was.
that light was the arm coming out of the tail with the
Yeah,
fuel line.
it was just
Oh,
that one was debunked very easily.
those jerks. I actually thought you were going really close to one of my stories, which I might as well tell it while we're here. It was something, and this was, I was, my early 20s, and this freaked me out. I was with an ex-girlfriend, well now ex-girlfriend, like we just got back from dinner or something like that, and we were at my parents' farm, and I was like, "Oh, look at that! It looks like maybe a helicopter or something like that." It was a light in the sky. It was moving, so it's gonna be a plane, a helicopter, whatever. And it was far enough away that I wasn't expecting to hear anything, so I'm not gonna go with that whole, it was silent. It was, made no noise. It was far away. But then I saw a light come out of it, and then there were two objects.
Was
Like,
that split?
yeah, it split and went away. Like there was one light, and then all of a sudden there were two lights, and then they went in different directions. Um,
That's a very common story in the UFO world that they split like that.
yeah, it freaked me out. I was like, okay, that's weird. And then it started heading towards our direction. Again, it wasn't super close. It wasn't like there was a beam of light coming down or anything crazy like that. It came towards us, and her and I were both a little freaked out by the whole thing. We kind of like ducked behind a bush. Not that would do anything with like thermal cameras and all that nowadays, but yeah, I mean, I haven't forgotten it, and I know damn well it wasn't a dream. So again. Take it for what you will. That's my story, and if you believe me, great. If you don't, okay, fine. I'm.
And as far as UFOs go, I mean, that's not one of my like. I'm more into like the Bigfoot and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
ghosts and things, and we'll get into that reason why later. But you got to realize that if space is as big as they say it is, first of all cannot be the only people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And second of all, like Joe Rogan says, we're sending up UFOs to other people. We have things out there flying around, spaceships and satellites and everything. So people on another planet are saying look, there's UFOs and stuff that we're putting up there. So
Yeah,
we're just, it definitely can happen. As long as they leave me alone, I'm okay with it.
that or that one other meme of like, what if what we see as stars are just the holes they poked in the lid for us?
Yeah, yep, yep. That's a theory that we live in a small galaxy, like in a jar or something like that. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, like the Men in Black thing where it was on
Yep,
the
yep,
cat's belt or whatever. Which
yep.
I don't know. I That's beyond me. I'm not that smart, but it's certainly kind of fun to think about. So, anyway, so where do you want to start, Tim?
Whatever you want to start with. You made the doc. We'll go with that.
Okay. Well, I don't know, but the first thing up there is Bigfoot.
Okay.
Um, so I mean, I know you're a big Bigfoot guy. So
There's a reason why, and I'm not scared too. Some people don't like to admit things that make them think like they're crazy. People that know me think I'm crazy anyway, probably. So it doesn't make a difference. There's back in it was like mid '80s, '85. We're to the age now where we can go wander around in the woods and everything else. And there was a group of people in Farmingdale, and there was a story that one night people saw Bigfoot in the woods, and I was not there that night, and I did not believe it, and blah blah blah. A couple nights later, I'm walking down the railroad tracks to go fishing. It's just about getting dark a little bit, and about 200 yards down the railroad tracks, something comes out of the woods, got up onto the railroad tracks, and it's big. There's these things that go down the railroad tracks. They're something to do with the electrical part of like the switches where so the lights go down and everything
okay,
on the streets. And they're a certain height, and this thing was twice as tall as it. So I know it was big. There was something to compare it to. It got up on the railroad tracks, and it turned and it looked at me, and it was not a man. It was not dressed in orange like he was hunting or anything else. It was big and black, and it like turned and started to go back down into the woods, and then turned around and got back up on the railroad track and started walking towards me. Now I'm 12 years old or something like that, so I took off into the woods to where I knew the other people were, and it didn't chase me anything that I know of after that. And there were a couple more sightings after that of kids in town. And then as life goes on, I'm pretty sure it's not there anymore. But I definitely saw something, and that was my Bigfoot sighting that I saw. So ever since then, I've been like Joe Rogan says. You want to know why? You want now you're chasing the thing to find out what did I see?
yeah.
And I know you're a big fan of that Survivor Man guy, and he did a whole episode, a series on that, trying to find different things.
Yeah,
So
and
which
there was a good handful of episodes. Now, let me ask you, uh, do you think at all that between the collective sightings of this, do you think that could have been, was everybody talking Bigfoot or Sasquatch, or was there like, yeah, maybe it was the Jersey Devil or something like that?
no, it was definitely everybody was in agreement that it was a Sasquatch. If for a Bigfoot, we called it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it was weird. It was just like it came out of nowhere, and ironically, after all these years and watching all these shows, one of the things that a lot of people say is they follow high tension lines because the path is clear.
Okay.
They, and it just so happens that that's right where the high tension lines go through Farmingdale. So that theory works with that. That they travel, they go from one place to another. They
Well,
don't
yeah, that
necessarily
and
stay in one
railroad
spot.
tracks are good and good for walking.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
what the hobos do.
it definitely goes in thing. And while we're on these railroad tracks, people in Farmingdale, there's folklore that and it's some of it's everything's some every all folklore started out with some kind of truth, and something happened. Then over the year, the story gets bigger and odder, of course,
Here,
But
snipe, snipe, snipe.
yeah, one of the theory stories in Farmingdale is haunted. These railroad tracks are haunted. One reason being is down the railroad tracks in Farmingdale, there's a pond. They call it the Mar Hole. Reason why they call it the Marhole is because it was a Marhole pit where they dug out marl for whatever they used that for back in the day. I'm not sure. And they hit an underground spring. And in this operation, there was a steam train that brought the coal cars up to the main level to the other railroad track, so they could load it onto the train. And that got flooded in the flood. They couldn't get it out in time; it was too heavy, too big. So that's in the water, and you can still see the smokestack when on like low when the water's real low in the summertime.
Huh.
Um, so a lot of people, there's a story that there's a light that walks up and down the railroad tracks, and this goes back to when my mom and dad were kids. That there's a light, and it's the conductor looking for his head out of the train. And then the other story is, and I can send you a YouTube clip of somebody exploring it. Further down the railroad tracks, there was a powder mill that they made gunpowder for like the Revolutionary War or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and that exploded. And when that exploded, it it actually they said it like through people's body parts like 3 miles away when it exploded. And the other theory is that light is not the conductor; it's someone looking for their arm or their leg or something. The same ghost story with two different theories.
Right. Right. Uh,
I never saw that light my whole life here, so I don't. But some people swear they saw it.
Now, that reminds me, and if you go through like some of the weird New Jersey archives, there's something called the Hookerman Light, I believe it was called,
Yep, yep.
and I believe it's up near Flanders, New Jersey. And I've actually gone near that area, to try to find where the railroad tracks were. And I went same area in I think Reddington as well, um, or same type of deal with an ex girlfriend, and we went looking for the Hooker or the Hookman light or the Hookerman light, whatever it was called. And the one theory is that there's some quartz in the ground, and that if the Earth shifts, quartz, if you uh, create pressure and release pressure, like vibrations and all that on it, it will actually produce an electrical charge. Just like if you would apply electrical charge to it, it will vibrate, which is how quartz watches work. They know the vibrations because of the voltage they're applying to it. And they're saying that between the quartz, the earth moving, the electrical field, and then the railroad tracks being steel, um, creates kind of this whole, will o' the wisp kind of uh, light or a ball lightning effect that can travel up and down the tracks.
Yes.
That's the in theory scientific explanation, but again, I've yet to even see the light. I think they did capture a photograph of it at one point when they were trying to do some research on it. I'd still like to see it in person though, but that's a lot of time invested.
Yeah, yeah. For a CLA, quartz is in a lot of the ghost story theories too. It holds power, and that's how they get the ghosts get their power and stuff like that. So that's definitely a theory.
Just keep salt on you.
Yeah, as far as Bigfoot in the real world, except in the small town of Farmingdale, there are many theories about how Bigfoot is the missing link. Some people theorize that Bigfoot is not the missing link. It's from when the theory that the aliens took us from ape to human. That was like the first byproduct of their testing. So not only is Bigfoot the missing link, he's also an alien.
So it's like a
Some people,
hybrid kind of thing.
yeah, some people think that the Bigfoot are actually from another planet, and the aliens put them here as like they're in jail here. They take them from there and bring them here and drop them off here. Is another theory with the
That's
Bigfoot. And
that's a new. I haven't heard of that one.
yeah, that's one that I've came across on a TV show. Um, as far as Bigfoot goes, what do I think it is? I think it's probably the missing link. The was it the Gigantopithecus as they called it or something was the
Okay,
last
yeah.
known that it's the something from that. And scientists can't say that it still can't exist. Like should it be extinct? Probably, but there's theory that it should still be able to survive. It's not that out of the realm. It's only, the world, we're talking billions of years, and they're talking tens to 15,000 years that this thing maybe should be dead. So it still could be alive. So there's another reason, and it's in the folklore of everything. I mean, any civilization you go to, Indians, any Eskimos, everybody's got a story about Bigfoot. You know.
Oh yeah. Uh, I love. I mean, think about like they usually don't talk about Bigfoot as just one. It's usually in groups, like families of sorts, having young. So not just one of them survived for all these years. It's been whatever relatively small population, but able to sustain itself. It is tough though with all these other bits, or what people say are evidence, and yeah, some can be argued. Some's like, I mean, even with the Survivor Man videos, which I enjoyed, some of it was like, okay, this not Survivor Man, but the guy he was with was stretching it a little bit because he was so convinced that everything was from Bigfoot that he had that confirmation bias where you know oh, this is not normal, so it has to be Bigfoot. Not, well, what
Yeah.
else could it be?
Hmm.
But it is frustrating with that with all the supposed interactions that there's no better video. There's that old reel to reel camera film that everybody's seen over the years, and then there's been a couple other small bits and pieces here and there. There was one that it is freaky when you look at it, especially if you watch it alone in the dark late at night, um, while your wife is snoring away on the couch. Um, that guy that had been with Survivor Man,
Hmm.
uh, in one of the episodes afterward, they shared some of the footage, and it was again really zoomed in. They were kind of behind something, so it leads you to be like, well, I mean, it could just be somebody wearing a mask or something like that. But
You're talking about the face in the trees.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Um,
Yeah.
I strongly suggest you try to find it on YouTube or look it up or because
Well, like the Survivor Man even said, he goes, "This is one of two things. This is either Bigfoot or it's a hoax. There's no in between because, it's definitely something there. You can see it.
yeah.
So it's either a Bigfoot or it's somebody in a mask. It's one of the two.
But how many
Um,
times the cameras get knocked down without catching the footage?
well, yeah,
You have to admit that's frustrating as all hell.
there's a one guy that I watch on YouTube. He has a piece of property that he bought. It's up in Washington or something like that, and there's Bigfoot activity on there. And he sets up GoPros, and he'll put he's got a gifting tree. A lot of people have gifting trees for their Bigfoot research. Right, they'll put donuts and all this stuff on there,
Hmm.
and when they come back, the donuts will be gone, and there'll be three rocks stacked up on top of each other or something like that.
I feel like that's
As
a bad trade.
yeah, it is. But he puts a GoPro up, and some of the stuff he puts up, I think it's either staged or it's real. He'll put a light out there, like a lantern.
Okay.
Um, mind you, the GoPro's not from me to it's pretty far away. It's not really close,
Yeah.
and you can watch. It'll go the lantern will go off. It'll shut off. He'll walk back out there, turn it back on. About 15 minutes later, it'll be shut off again, like it's physically shut off.
Yeah.
He claims that it's a Bigfoot and things like that. A lot of people say Bigfoot is very curious. It's not out to hurt you. It's just out to try to figure out what you're doing as much as you're trying to figure out what it's doing.
Yes, but I would argue the one thing that Les Stroud had talked about his one what would be a close encounter, whether it was Bigfoot or not, up for debate, but it was something, and it was throwing rocks at him.
Yes,
And I've heard that
rock
a
throwing.
handful of times. And are they trying to hurt? Or are they trying to scare you away? Or
Hmm.
is it something else that
Um,
learned how to throw rocks?
the rock. Going back to when I was a kid, we would be fishing, and there would be actually be rocks thrown in the water, and you would turn around to think, well, my brother Scott's here, or my buddy Jeff is here, and you turn around, and there's nobody there, and there was definitely rocks thrown.
Yeah.
Um, rock throwing's big. The wood knocking is big.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and of course calls, which there's all theories on all that, and there's all footage of all that on TV on YouTube. There's one that's called they call it uh, samurai chatter or something. If you
Okay.
ever
I'll have
go
to
on
look
that,
that up.
apparently they're the way they talk. It's like samurai people talking in like a chatter is one of the big ways that they communicate. Unfortunately, in the Bigfoot world, that guy that the Survivor Man had on his show is
Yeah.
more known as a hoaxer than he is a true Bigfooter in the Bigfoot community. And he claims that's because they say that because he has better footage, better footage than they do. So they claim that his footage obviously has to be hoaxed because
So yeah, yours is better than mine. So it's the
it's
same
fake.
as you ran faster than me, so you're cheating, basically,
Oh,
right?
yes.
It's frustrating. I wish there was more of a scientific and kind of like Loch Ness monster and stuff like that, where they do the scanning sonar and like we're gonna try to figure out, from a scientific end. Let's look. Let's see what's there. If we see something, great. If we see nothing, well, then I don't know what to tell you.
You
Um,
know, they did that with that film that you were talking about. You know, the original film that everybody saw from back in the day that they
yeah.
actually had a computer try to figure out how if it was a man in there or not. And a lot of the motions that the computer said a man couldn't do,
Hmm.
pros and cons. A lot of people like Joe Rogan, he swears that that's a man in a costume.
Right.
Um,
Right.
some people don't.
Well, if you look at the because of the distance from the camera and the quality of the equipment from back then, it's not HD and all that. It was easier to fake stuff in costume ways then. Now we have more the computer graphics end that we can create and
Yeah,
fake stuff. So I don't know which is better, which is worse, but. I don't know. You had a lot of things that you could kind of try to play to your favor back then to try to hoax it, but at the same time, oop, it's a notification. Never mind. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. I mean, it's classic Bigfoot footage, but I can't say for sure either way on it. It's weird, and part of me wishes that I could have kind of an experience to see it myself. But part of me also doesn't want to crap my pants because I'm so scared.
yeah. I saw it. I saw. I see. I had my like they say on the Finding Bigfoot. They say, "Welcome to the family." You saw. You actually saw one. So
Yeah, oh, I don't know. Um, but they have what is it? The Ghost Hunters. That's Sci-Fi Channel, I think, right?
it's on. They just rebooted that. It's on A&E now. The two guys broke up. One guy, the other guy, still might be on Sci-Fi, but the one guy's on. He kept the Ghost Hunter's name. That must have been his in the contract. He's on A&E now, I think.
Okay.
They just rebooted that. Like it's only like on its fourth episode. I don't watch that show too much anymore. I used to watch that all the time. I actually went to. I saw them live when they were still together at Count Basie Theater. They came there.
Oh, cool.
I went to one of their seminars there. As far as the go, there's so many ghost hunting shows on now. For lack of better terms, the ghost hunting shows to me have jumped the shark. There's just so many of them now.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. They did have a couple good episodes though over the top. I think
Oh
probably
yeah,
one of the
oh
best
yeah,
ones probably would be the Eastern State Penitentiary one, but we'll save that for later. I have been
yeah.
there. I did like a regular tour when it was really freaking cold out, and then I did one of the terror behind the walls things, um, which honestly, quick side story. So I went with a couple friends, and uh, so it was three girls, and they were all like trying to duck and hide behind me as we're going through the whole haunted house thing there, and but all the actors would see that they were like ducking and hiding behind me, so they would wait till I passed and then jump out and scare them. And okay, fine. And I'm not trying to sound like a tough guy or anything like that, but really it was a great production. But nothing like spooked me. Nothing jumping out at me freaked me out, or made me flinch or whatever. And I'm gonna tell you, this is the dumbest thing. Right towards the end, there's one of the last hallways. They have it looks like one of those roll down like storage unit kind of doors, and it
Uh-huh.
was up against the side. Well, they had it on an actuator, so it would start to like fall over, and I, thinking it was honestly a prop that came loose, I flinched. I put my arm up, like, holy crap, it's gonna fall on me, and then it stopped, and then it went uh, back up into its position so it could do it again. So out of everything in the whole thing, probably the stupidest thing scared the crap out of me. So I don't
It
know.
happens. It got you. It got you.
But yeah, no, I definitely recommend it. I think they still do it, but I definitely recommend it. Check it out. Maybe not for kids, but adults, teens, have fun. It's great. And beyond that, if you go and actually see the real tour of the place, they have like Al Capone's room. I think it was. And like
Yes.
he was allowed like a radio and a lamp and stuff like that. He would talk, he was given all this, rich white guy. What do you think?
Al Capone's house in New Jersey is for sale right now.
Yes, yes, I saw that, and I actually just drove by that hotel, um, uh,
Oh, yeah.
like last week.
The one that's always in weird New Jersey.
Yeah, yeah, that with a supposed tunnel underneath. Oh, man,
Yeah, yep.
another episode coming up.
For
There's
anybody that doesn't know, there's a magazine that comes out every 3 months, I think it is, in New Jersey called Weird New Jersey. And a lot of the things that we talk about are in there, and very good read. It's $5. It's worth the $5. I usually get it and read it cover to cover the first day I get it. So
it's good. The only downside is if you try to go visit the stuff, it really a lot of other people go to visit it too, and it'll get vandalized or tagged. Um,
yeah,
and then the police hear about it, and then the police have a bigger presence there, and it goes downhill fast once they publish. But it is cool to read about and enjoy. And if it's something that's near you, take a drive by. I mean, I have no problem with people taking a drive by and trying to check it out. But when they go in, and there was one in particular called Mary's Tower, and
yep,
some kids went in and burned it down.
yep.
So I mean, I'm sure the town likes that the nuisance is gone, but because of a magazine doing something kind of cool, a bunch of idiots went and ruined it for everyone.
Yep,
So
that's a big part of the exploration world. Is most people go there and take pictures, but there's got to be that group that's got to go there and break the windows and rip it apart for some reason.
yeah, I don't get it. I love abandoned buildings. I've explored a bunch over the years. It's been quite a while since I have done it, but yeah, it's a shame that so many people have to wreck everything. Because that's what you see. As soon as you get in, even if it's a place that's been one of the harder ones to get into, there's graffiti everywhere. So, I mean, you're definitely not alone. Um, and some of them, the folklore doesn't even seem to matter anymore because everything's so overgrown you can't even get to what they were talking about. Anyway, so now back to the Bigfoot stuff as we digress. Um, now you had sent a link. I didn't get to watch it yet about Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd is a huge anything paranormal. He's into, always has been, and like I said yesterday when we were talking about it before the other podcast that we do, I think that's why he's such a great movie writer because he's got the imagination from what he believes in. Ghostbusters. He believes in ghosts. He made Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Um, he's really into a lot of it. He does his research. He's on a podcast. Joe Rogan. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast. I think on Monday. If you get a chance, watch that. It's really good.
We advertise a lot of other podcasts, don't we?
Yeah, I'm sure
We are
Joe Rogan will
terrible
appreciate
promoters.
it. Yeah, he's very interesting to listen to. I would love to sit in a room and talk to him about things that he's seen. And, a lot of celebrities have seen, claim to see Bigfoot and certain things.
Oh, real quick, I do want to mention you're talking about celebrities. There was um, a show. I think it was. I want to say it was on MTV. It might have been Sci-Fi. It was called Celebrity Paranormal Experiment,
Hmm.
and it was. I think MTV at least had a similar show where they would have people wear these body cameras, like a rig, so they'd have just like if they had a GoPro mounted facing them, and they would go into abandoned or creepy places, and they'd have to sit in a dark room with all the lights off for 20 minutes or this or that, and I don't know. It was all trying to connect to the paranormal. So it was half ghost hunters, half just trying to scare the bejesus out of people, and then they had a celebrity version of it called Celebrity Paranormal Experiment. And honestly, one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life was Gilbert Gottfried on this show. Because his one liners were hilarious. And then when he would get freaked out, it was just as funny. I mean, it was absolutely great. I think it only lasted like a season or two, but if you can find it anywhere, YouTube or Hulu or I don't care. Try to look it up. See if you can find some clips. It was really funny. Again, this is all before the HD 19 by whatever aspect ratio. Was it 6 by 19? It was that old square TV aspect. So
Another person that's really into Bigfoot is the guy from the comedian. He was in all the Police Academy movies. Bobcat Goldthwait.
I don't know him.
He
I'm a
did a
terrible.
huge documentary on Bigfoot. He's a big believer in Bigfoot. He's got some interesting stuff. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about, you can just go on YouTube and watch it yourselves and make your own opinions on it. Some of it's really good. Some of it makes you, just makes you say, maybe things are out there that you don't know about.
I definitely believe that there's more than we know. I mean, a lot of it you can attribute to military stuff. I mean, what if
Yeah.
Bigfoot was, like you said, maybe not an alien experiment, but our own government experiment, and they let this hairy thing out because
Well,
or something.
apparently we'll get into in a different episode. The Mothman is supposed to be a government thing gone awry, and
So should we do just an episode on West Virginia then?
that is in West Virginia too. Yes, that's in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, if I remember correctly.
Let me
Um,
add it to the doc. uh, I'll have to. Yeah, I'm gonna have to reorganize half of this doc, and just then we can do a state by state episode or something.
Dan Aykroyd's a big believer in the Mothman too.
Really, um,
Yeah,
I keep thinking, what was it? The movie or what was that movie where it came around like every was not no was it 27 years or something like that, or was that it? I can't remember.
I
Uh,
think that's it.
yeah, there was another one where they I want to say it was Mothman or something like that, but the guy like ran the thing over and like had it bolted and chained to a wall and was waiting for it to come alive again after the cycle renewed or something.
A lot of the movies, the horror movies that we watch on the big screen are all related to some kind of folklore or something. People don't realize or don't know.
If you're into folklore, if you're watching this because you actually are into the folklore end of things, I highly recommend the first like 3 seasons of Supernatural, because a lot of those stories and some even later on when they did their Monster of the Week stuff was really based on folklore that is alive and well. Uh, Whether the things are true, like the Wendigos or um, the Hookman, uh, stuff like that. They did a really good job with it, and if you're into that kind of horror stuff, and not just the slasher flicks, um, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or any of that stuff. Um, Definitely check out Supernatural. I mean, X Files was also a very good one. And if you want your young kids to get into the creepy stuff, I recommend So Weird. It was a Disney Channel show like the X Files. It was toned down a little bit, but one of the darker shows that they've had. Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely worth watching. That was something I got into. I don't know how old you were at the time, but Are You Afraid of the Dark was another show.
yeah, I don't remember that one.
That was on Nickelodeon like Saturday nights, towards late at night, and I think one of the scariest episodes they ever had was uh, this red like skeleton thing that was living in a pool and would come up and drag people under and drown them. Yeah, it was some pissed off spirit.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of theories about things living in the water too that we'll get to in later episodes. As far as Bigfoot goes, you want to wrap up that and go to the next?
Yeah.
Do you have anything?
Well, I was
Do you have
thinking.
any?
I mean, like, check out the Survivor Man stuff. Like, I think like the biggest kind of joke thing was the tree breaks.
There are theories about that. It's a good thing you brought that up. I forgot that you wanted to mention that. A lot of it's snow load from the snow when the trees break them.
Yep.
But then there's some of the ones that the trees can't be broken, physically by the snow the way they're broken or twisted. Do you know what I mean? They did all that on that show. A lot of people think that the Bigfoot that's their boundary. That's where you're in my territory. That's why they break the trees like that.
I mean, I guess it's simple, and it could. I don't know, but every time I go hiking anywhere, my wife is like, "Oh, look, tree break." I'm like, "Oh crap, Bigfoot's here," and we say
Yeah,
it jokingly because I mean it looks like a tree that broke and fell over, whether it was old or this or that. I mean, I know they were trying to go into whether the tree was had been healthy and was recently broken, or
yes.
if
If it's
versus rotted and old and all that.
yeah, exactly. A good healthy tree that's snapped halfway up is not shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And then they make the different configurations of the trees where they twist them together and things like
Oh,
that.
like a teepee kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
A lot of people think that they say why haven't they ever found one dead in the woods? And a lot of people say is because they bury their dead, and that's where they bury their dead. That's like not a headstone, but a memorial to like
Okay.
that's where their cemetery is. And there was actually a show just on that on TV. Now, I watched a couple weeks ago that this couple was just hiking in the woods, not looking for Bigfoot, not looking for any kind of adventure like that, just hiking in the woods for exercise. And they
You
came
say that like they're monsters.
they came across a big field with like all these trees all intertwined together and all this stuff. They actually took pictures of it, and they claimed that while they were there, they got surrounded by a bunch of Bigfoot, and the Bigfoot were throwing rocks at them and to get them
Really?
off to get them off that land. And they think that that was where they were. That was their burial ground.
I mean that's because uh, my other question is, do they only live in like caves and stuff? I mean, you'd think that maybe they would try to figure out some type of rudimentary shelter or something like depending on their level of I don't know. I don't want to say intelligence because I don't think that they're dumb, but you know, you can see some of the things where monkeys can imitate human behavior, but then they have legitimate, uh, relationships, and like how they care for their young. They don't just drop them off and say, "All right, good luck."
Yeah, yeah.
They actually.
There definitely are a lot of theories think that they do live in caves and they live in they go down and they can only come out at night. And then but then again people come across beds that like where you can see where something was laying down and it's covered with like a TP type thing. And they say, well, that's where Bigfoot sleeps. So
Yeah, I don't know. I think you'd find something more with. I'm not saying it'd be incredibly intricate, but something that would keep some of the rainwater off unless they have caves and stuff. And I don't really know of many caves in Farmingdale.
No, I don't know either. But like I said, I think they were just traveling through here. I don't think they lived here the whole time. We just happened to be that particular time of the month when they were all here, and we got to witness it. Um, I never saw it again. That was 1985 ish, and here it is. The date it is now. No one's ever saw it again. It was like a rash of sightings in like a month's time. So it was either, to me, it was either a Bigfoot or it was some guy in the woods decided he was going to scare the crap out of all the kids for a little while.
That sounds like me if I ever get to retire. Damn kids, I'll show them. Oh man. Let's see. And we talked about the different types of videos and stuff they have out there, and God, why can't there be more? I don't know.
Yeah, they did that Finding Bigfoot show was on damn near I think 10 years, and they really never found anything concrete. They did have some things that made you go, think, oh, okay, there's something out there. And of course, all the stories and eyewitnesses and everything else they did was more of the, I don't want to say proof, but more fuel to the fire that there's something out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
A lot of people feel that, and I don't know if I believe this or not, but people say that they have a way of become invisible. They know how to become indivisible, and that goes back to the theory of the UFO, which part of the cloaking device, Star Wars type stuff that they could do. Um, there's other ones that say they don't disappear; they put you in a trance, and you can't see them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, like
Like knock.
like a mind trick kind of.
Yeah, that's another theory. There's so many theories for Bigfoot, and there's so many good stories, old stories. I like the old folklore story. There was one that a guy had gotten. He was in his tent in the woods. He was a fur trapper way back in the day, and he was sleeping in his tent, and he awoke, and he was in his tent being drugged through the woods, like like somebody bringing home a cheeseburger in a paper bag. You know what I mean? And
I'm
and
sorry, the way that's an incredibly awesome analogy, but it caught me so off guard.
and when he got out of the tent, there was a family of Bigfoot. It was a mom and dad and two little ones. And he was under they didn't hurt him or anything. They were feeding him and everything. He was under the impression that he was there to become a mate for the younger Bigfoot, like that was going to like a shotgun wedding type thing. And he actually claimed that he wrote a book. It's in a book. Um, he actually lived with the Bigfoot for a week or so, and the way he got away was he had chewing tobacco on him, and the mom and dad Bigfoot went away, and the little ones were watching him, but they were still strong enough to reframe him. He
Yeah.
couldn't get away from him, and he gave the little ones chewing tobacco, and they ate it, and they started to get sick. And then when they got sick, he ran away, and he got away.
So he didn't mate with the other.
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm just just curious.
Yeah, that's why he thinks he was there. He wasn't sure why,
I mean,
but
that is
they never
crazy.
harmed. Yeah, there's and the Indian stories are amazing. If you ever go to the library and read about Indian folklore with the Bigfoot, they call it the hairy man. Most American Indians was a
Okay.
crazy man.
I I really need to research this better than I have.
Yeah, me too. This is like I said. This is the first show. This is probably a little bit of a train wreck, but we'll get through it.
Well, no, I mean it's I'm always been interested in this stuff, but I guess I've been a lot more casual than I realized in it. Compared to Lisa, I guess or my wife, I'm probably hardcore for this, but uh, compared to you, I was like, holy crap, I've never even heard of this, Tim.
Like I said, well, I had my encounter in '85, so I've been not. I don't want to say I'm a researcher, but it's been an interest of mine. I definitely, if there's a Bigfoot show on TV, I'm watching it. If I come across a magazine with something about Bigfoot Inquirer. I'm going to read it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let me ask you, because now because I like camping and hiking and all that, I've liked watching Survivor Man, from the beginning. Now I'm sure you know it more because of the interest in Bigfoot. Did you enjoy the Bigfoot series, or did you think it was more kind of hokey, or I don't know?
The Survivor Man Bigfoot series.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking- I thought it was in any. I'll watch anyone. I thought that was interesting. They had a lot of stuff that I agreed with from past experiences watching on TV.
Hmm.
People saying, yes, this is how it happens. Yes, this is how it doesn't happen. He was right along the lines with everything else, but like I said, the guy that he had with him is not the most credible guy in the
Okay.
Bigfoot community. Um, I don't know. Do I believe that one guy, the guy that's credible or not? I think he's got a lot of information that does go along the lines of everybody else. But like I said, he's got those videos where either he's telling the truth or he's lying. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely. So
And he was on Finding Bigfoot, an episode of Finding Bigfoot one time,
okay.
and they did not agree with what he had to say.
Really.
Yeah,
All right. Well, I mean, I found it interesting. I mean, we did enjoy watching it. Uh,
yeah, and I would watch it again if he did it again.
okay.
Um, I mean, as much as the time as that guy's in the woods, the Survivor Man,
Hmm.
of course he's going to see something sooner or later. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And that's why he did that show, correct? Because he saw something one time he said he couldn't explain.
Yeah. He there was and of course his video was crap, but it was one of those things that now he for filming he'll set up the shot like for example, and I've even used this in some of my camping videos where you set up a camera and then you walk away from it like you're going down the trail. Well, then you have to go back and get that camera. So you just cut that part of the footage out, and
Yeah,
and then you'll set another camera up farther down the trail, walk towards it, well, first you have to walk away from it with it recording. You cut that part out, and then you keep the part of you walking towards it, and it's all editing tricks. But when done properly, you feel the flow of everything, and
yes,
uh, now he'll film himself like getting all cuddled up in his sleeping bag or whatever, and going off to sleep. Well, then he has to get up and shut the camera off. So when he was actually sleeping, the cameras are off, and that makes total sense. Why record yourself snoring, and waste your battery and data space on your discs and everything? But something was making noise and throwing rocks at him, and he was freaked out a bit by it, which I think is a normal reaction for anybody. And he did have some sense to turn on a camera, but it was like by firelight, and it was smoky and hazy, and it was terrible footage, and it's mostly him just yelling at it to go away, thinking maybe it's a bear because
yeah.
you want to scare them away and all that. I've seen bear prints before where I've been camping. I haven't encountered one, personally, but I've seen the bear tracks, and we've had plenty of other animals out there. So yeah, you want them, something that can kill you. You'd like it to go away and leave you alone. So I mean, in that moment, imagine waking up in that. You're probably kind of scared. You're still not 100%. You don't have your wits about you yet. Yeah, I would imagine it's hard to get good footage, but it's so unfortunate that it wasn't good footage because, you know, I don't know. It would have been great, and if he could be the one that could get it, even
Yeah.
better. Um, but maybe I really hope that one day, it's. I think my one fear would be that if they actually confirm that Bigfoot or Bigfoots, big feet exist, that people would all of a sudden go hunting them.
There's actually states out there now that it's illegal to hunt them.
Really?
Yeah, there's a few.
How do they describe that in the law? Is it like anything that's not listed on here is you're not able to hunt, or is it explicitly anything that looks like an ape or whatever?
It's something, yeah, something along the lines of they basically say we're not saying it's real or not, but if it is real, you're not allowed to shoot it. So
Okay. Yeah, it's not going to stop people. I mean, I
yeah.
mean, I think it's good that the premise is there, but you know, telling somebody not to do something, well,
Well, let's face it. Until there is one dead on a slab where somebody can actually say this is a Bigfoot, until that day, it's going to be folklore anyway. You know what I mean? Proof. You can have all the video you want in the world, and somebody's going to say it's fake. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. I don't know. I part of me has to believe that it can exist and be out there. I mean, if you look at other things that are alive and we're used to, like the platypus, uh,
Yeah.
why?
Well, they find new new living things every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
In the rainforest and all this other crap. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility just because no one saw one yet or caught one yet. They find new things every day.
yeah. That's 100% correct. And so part of me anxiously awaits the day that we do. Um, but hey, maybe they're just smart and they want to keep their distance from idiots like us.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's weird. It's really, but what are you gonna do?
It's no different than we're brought up to say, you stay away from a bee because it's going to sting you. Do you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It's the same. They're brought up to stay away from humans if they are such a creature.
They must hate campers then.
Mm.
Stay out of our territory.
We get back into Bigfoot. We went on Bigfoot a little bit for now. Let's switch over to Area 51 because that's hot right now.
Okay, yeah,
With every,
yeah, we can talk a little bit about that. I mean, there's a lot to go into, and we're already, geez, almost an hour.
yeah, so I'm going to real quick, and then maybe that'll be it for tonight. I know we had more in the dock, but we got started
Oh, this doc
rambling.
can keep going and going and going because
Yeah, yeah, that's
there's everything's going to tie back into something else. Um,
okay.
Now,
Good.
everybody knows like the whole Roswell, New Mexico, and then the aliens were supposedly taken back to Area 51. And then there's stories. I think there was like a lady that came out that she was a nurse there, and she was trying to treat one of the aliens, but then it died and stuff like that. I just the what do you believe? What do you not believe? Um, and now I don't think that there's anybody out there, whether you believe in aliens or not, that thinks that there's nothing going on in Area 51. Because I mean, there's been plenty of top secret planes and stuff that the government has hid for years. So it's easy enough to believe that top secret stuff has been going on there, or at least was, for quite some time. Whether
Oh,
the alien stuff is true, that's we're
you
waiting
want
for proof.
Yeah, my theory on Area 51 was Area 51 has been there a long time. I believe that after World War II, when it's no secret that we brought back a lot of the German technology.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, there's no secret in that. I mean, the guy from where the von Braun was head of the rocket thing, he was a
Yeah.
Nazi through and through. They basically just repainted the Nazi rocket and put USA on it and sent it up, with a little fine tuning. Um,
It's absolutely correct, but it's funny as hell.
Operation Paperclip, I do believe that was called.
Yes.
Um, there's no secret in that. And my Area 51 was there before this alien crash. My theory is we brought back something from the Nazis, and when we did, it went to Area 51 because that's where we make all, like you said, that's where we make all our spy planes and the stealth bomber and all that other stuff. And all that the crash was is we were playing around with the technology of what we stole from them. It crashed. Instead of saying, all right, yeah, it was a Nazi UFO, they let the people go with it was an alien because that was better than saying that we have all this. The Nazis they didn't want America to know that the Nazis were that far advanced than they were. You know that
Okay.
they were much more advanced of winning that war than people were supposed to know. And
I think the only argument against that is then why didn't they use it? And you know,
they spread themselves too thin. They ran out of money. They had too much other going on. They
yeah,
were starting to run out of fuel. There was, let's just think of the not that we're talking about World War II, but the logistics of all that. You know how much fuel it takes to do all that, and all the iron and steel and everything else. They had spread themselves too thin, and
okay.
it just caught up to them, I believe. But going back to Area 51, there's no UFOs there. There's another base somewhere else. If there are UFOs, that's where they always say there's another. I can't remember the name of the other base that they say they go to, but
Well, there
there.
was Site 4 or S4 that it was kind of connected to the property or slightly, it was off of that. It was like an offshoot. That was another place they said. But Tim, you had mentioned something about Antarctica.
There's a theory that there's a Nazi base in Antarctica. That was Operation. I remember I told you the name. I can't think of it. It's on the tip of my tongue. But there's another one you can find. Just type in Nazi Antarctica. It'll come up. There's one of the theories is we went there to after the war. We figured out that they had a base in Antarctica. We went up there, and one of the stories is that we went up there, full force, planes and everything. They built a little town up there. I think the town's still there. And while they were trying to find this base, supposedly UFOs came up out of this hole in the ice, and they had like Nazi, swastikas on them and everything else. And they gave us a good shellacking as far as the war go, for fighting them off. And we came back and they covered that up. That's a story or a theory, but yeah, that's where supposedly the Nazis kept their UFOs that they had made.
Huh. I see something called the Arrival Heights Lab. Um, and
It's a Nazi Antarctica base or something.
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm looking at. It's and then there's
I mean,
another link.
there's been shows about that on the History Channel. They talked about it. It's not like a secret, like a UFO type shows on there. They talk about it.
Yeah. Another link popped up. It says Nazis and pyramids. What's really going on in Antarctica?
Well,
Um,
yeah, it's supposed to be pyramids under the ice there, but that's a whole episode on itself. Those pyramids, they're all over the place. They're definitely something to go with.
I'm
A lot
going
of people
down.
think a lot of people think that the pyramids were something to do with electricity over the whole Earth.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going down the rabbit hole tonight. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah.
I found one line out of this that I love. It says, "Finally, an excuse to wear a tinfoil hat."
As far as Area 51 goes, and these people that say they're going to go raid it, I, why would you go to a place that we build basically planes of mass destruction? That would be the last place I would want to raid. They
Uh,
would go up. They'd be dead in 3 seconds. If they,
yeah. Yeah. I would think that.
I mean,
Between
they made it quite clear. If you raid this place, we're shooting you. You know that there's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no like, well, okay, whatever you want to call them, the snowflakes or whatever. We're shooting you. You come
yeah,
across this fence, we're shooting you.
and with it, well, the first handful of waves would probably be easily be taken out by general, gunfire, and then they probably could break out the advanced weapons if they had to. I mean, and that's assuming the people that are raiding Area 51 had weapons of their own, which
I I think after the first gunshot, I think most of them would turn around and run the other
crap, they are shooting at us!
way.
Run away! uh, yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to see it happen because my favorite meme was um, it's a win-win. Either we find out that aliens exist, or we reduce the population of the country by 500,000.
Do aliens exist is one thing. Do aliens exist at Area 51? I don't think they.
Well, I was going to say we find proof that the government knew that aliens existed. I guess is really the takeaway, not the whole speculation of whether or not they exist. Period. Because I mean, I with the vastness of the universe, I'd have to believe that there's some type of life somewhere out there, other than our lazy butts.
A lot of people swear that on the backside of the moon there's bases that that are there from other planet, other another planet, and there was that's a whole other conspiracy theory if we actually landed on the moon or not. But if you're going to go with that, we actually did. There's supposedly tapes of the guys walking on the moon telling Texas that there's people here watching us. We're not the only ones here.
Oh,
And,
that's right. I do remember hearing about that.
and supposedly on the backside of the moon, there's all kinds of bases and stuff.
Man.
And we can go on for days on different things. The moon landing one's very it's a touchy situation, but there's definitely pros and cons to that.
Well, I mean, I have to argue for the side of we did go, but we'll save that for another episode. I think is the best part. But as for Area 51, I mean, you can't. I know the government. I think their official statement is that they can neither confirm nor deny the existence of a base and all that stuff. But you know, it's there. Something is there. There's a mailbox. They call it the
Yeah,
black mailbox. Um, but I mean, something is definitely there.
yeah. It's to me there's no ifs ands or buts. It's a it might not be listed as an air base, but it's definitely a research and development facility for planes. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Oh
They
yeah,
fly in and out, they fly in and out of there every day. The stealth bomber just didn't appear there one day for a show. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. And with, I think with more and more satellites going up, you look at like SpaceX's Starlink system. There's a lot of satellites out there now. Previously, you could probably go, "Oh crap, one's going to be flying over, so we got to duck this thing back in a hangar." Now there's so many, it's going to be hard to get 5 minutes to yourself without a satellite going overhead.
Oh yeah,
That's
oh
able
yeah.
to look down and see what you're doing. And that's just on the kind of like the consumer end of things. Imagine what your enemies have.
That's why we need places like Area 51 to keep us safe.
I kind of go with the whole mutually assured destruction where, was it the war games? We nuke them, they nuke us, we all die. You just flip it around, we all die. Try it this way, we all die. Um, so the whole point is everybody's going to die either way, and as terrible of a thought as that is, that's the only thing that's kind of keeping anybody from pushing the button, so to speak.
Yeah, they've been waiting for somebody to push that button since the 50s. You know what I mean? Our
Yeah,
parents used to hide under their desk at school, for air raid. Up until today, we're just waiting to blow up one day. I guess I don't know.
yeah, yeah. They don't do that. They do the school shooting drills, which is not really any better. But it's just been replaced by another thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Is what it comes down to. I don't want to get to the whole political end of it. I mean, the politics of the government and hiding technology and all that. Yeah, we'll talk about.
Uh-huh.
But
I say hide it because I don't. If they got something that's going to protect us at the end of the day, and they don't want Russia or some China to find about it, then that's fine with me.
I can agree with you there, but at the same time, I'm still curious and I'd like to see it just because, like, if they have like anti gravity kind of stuff, like for me,
Well, there's
unlikely.
there's there's people that think that they have the technology to time travel. I mean, back when they were making the Manhattan Project, when they were doing all that stuff,
Yeah.
supposedly that one ship disappeared, and then came back like 15 minutes later, and the crew was like infused into the steel of the ship.
Oh,
Did you ever hear that story?
I heard something like that, but at first I thought you were talking about the final countdown. Ever see that movie?
No.
It was a battleship
It,
or aircraft carrier that went through some kind of wormhole out in the ocean and like went back to right before the start of World War II, and they were there to try to help shoot down the Japanese fighters.
yeah, I don't remember where the conspiracy theory went on to where it went, but it came back like 15 minutes later or something like that. And they said that the crew members that did survive long enough said that they went back in time somewhere, and then they came back. That's a whole. I can't remember the name of it. That's a whole other thing we could
Great
do a show on.
Scott! There, there's my Back to the Future reference for you. It was worth a shot. Oh man. But do you think that technology was from Area 51, or do you think that was just a
I what the time travel?
yeah?
I think if it is possible, they were just trying. It had something to do with just making the atomic bomb, and it's like anything else. A lot of inventions that we've come to know were mistakes. You learn from your mistakes. You know what I mean? I think they were trying to develop one thing, and they found out that it didn't do that, but it made it time travel. You know what I'm saying? Made by mistake.
So a little different than Broccaflower
Yeah,
or liver mush.
yeah. I mean, a lot of things have been made by mistake. I mean, Goodyear tire and rubber was made by mistake.
My
What was
kid
that?
was made by mistake. I'm sorry, what? Uh,
Yeah, no, I hear you.
you had to have fun with that one. But no, you're absolutely right. How many things that we're used to now were something that, oh, holy crap, this did something that I didn't expect, and we found a way to make it useful.
Yeah, yep.
So I mean, the life is an interesting journey. I think is the part of that. I kind of wish that in a way the raid would work because I'd like to see it, but I'm not dumb enough to go in and do it. Isn't that supposed to be in a couple days though? What was it like 5 days from now?
It's coming close. I can't believe that anybody's stupid. You gotta be such a stupid. There's big signs saying we will shoot you if you cross this line. It's not like any secret. Why would you do it? You don't think they're gonna shoot you?
I think there's a handful of people that don't care about their lives and would go. And I think there's going to be a number of people that are mentally challenged, we'll go with, that are going to show up thinking that it's the right thing to do. And, well, we'll see what happens, I guess. I would love to have at least one news van there to broadcast like what happens. I mean, you got to document it.
I'm sure there'll be some. There's got to be somebody there with a. This day and age, everybody's got a news van in their pocket. They can do it on their phone.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, I can't wait for the Facebook live streams. All right, this is Joey. We're going. I'm with my buddy Kyle.
Yep.
We're about to raid Area 51.
Area 51. There's no aliens there. It's just our technology of our aircraft, I believe.
Do you think aliens ever were there?
I think the aliens that supposedly crashed at Roswell in 1950, I don't think they were aliens at all. I think they were test pilots for, like I said, for the Nazi stuff that we got. Were they ever there? I guess anything's possible, but I think no. I think if there were, they went other places. They used to be. There was rumors that they were here in New Jersey at Fort Monmouth and stuff like that for research and development. So.
And then we'll get into that later because there's that book that's coming out, which I have to see if there's an audiobook version about that guy that supposedly shot an alien at Fort Dix.
Yeah, that's another.
I really want to read that. That's going to be fun. My log of books is gonna. I'm gonna have quite the inbox to go through. We should set up a website or an email address just for this. Other things we're going to get to. Actually, there was another thing. this was a handful of years ago because you said that Area 51's kind of, I don't want to say abandoned, but not nearly as busy as it used to be. And I think that's been confirmed with a hand, with a number of other sources. But there was a whether History Channel, something else, went out there, and there was a bar called the Little Ale Inn, and I swear they said that that was pretty much abandoned and closed down, and there was just nothing out there anymore. And they waited and they looked at the sky and nothing. There were no lights dancing around anymore. It just seemed like the whole thing had kind of
Moved on.
yeah, or moved elsewhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, there's theories that we have full blown bases in the mountains, inside the mountains stuff
yeah,
now.
but you can't fly inside the mountains.
Some people say they fly in and out of there. I don't know. I mean, look at the technology. You go back to like stuff that we had during the Cold War that now is no big deal. But they built bases under hotels and everything else. And
Yeah.
now imagine with the technology that we have today, what we got hidden somewhere.
Well, now everybody thinks that I'm some young punk kid or whatever, but I mean, I grew up before the internet was anything. I mean, I think technically by
What
definition, like the internet started in like the 70s or something, but um, like to be useful and even search or whatever. I remember I was in like fifth grade when we got our first dial-up internet.
Yeah,
Um,
but that was still horrible.
compared to what we can do now, I mean,
Yeah,
uh, to get a 30-second clip of you in the lower quality webcam right now, it would have taken over 2 hours to download, and here we're doing this live. Um,
yeah, oh, yeah.
the quality it's incredibly different. I grew up before cell phones and all that, and what these things can do, these computers that you carry around in your pocket that have, I mean, fast internet capability and to stream live video and just access to all this information and things like Pornhub and uh, uh, but it's amazing. It's stuff that I never would have dreamed of as a kid, and now it's become everyday life.
Mm.
So I mean,
And
things that have been developed. I mean, radio and radar was a big
oh,
deal.
that's big around here too. If you go, Camp Evans over in Wall Township was all for the radio
Yeah.
communications. They Marconi Hotel is still there, and they actually have a museum in there about the technology of how the radio communication goes. It's fascinating if you have a time to go over there and check everything out. They still have one of the big, huge dishes are still up there. Back when that was built in the 50s, it wasn't so populated around here. And it goes from there and it goes down in the Red Bank and Middletown down to Fort Hancock. Like it follows a trail.
Hmm.
And there's Tower Hill and Little Silver where there used to be a tower. If you do all your research, it went from Camp Evans, and there was a line of communication towers that went down to Fort Hancock, which is, if you ever get a chance to go explore, Fort Hancock's pretty cool. You ever been there?
No, I haven't, but I will say that you're going to find this funny. I did a ghost tour a couple of years ago. By a couple, I mean I don't even know. At the Marconi Hotel.
Yes. Marconi Hotel was actually one of the most so it's one of the most haunted places in around here.
But
It's
why?
actually well. That's a whole other thing. There was one point in time where the Nazis actually owned that hotel. They came after the war. Some of them came over here. They ended up owning it for a little while, and then we got it back. We bought it back from them and everything else. The Marconi Hotel's got a strange history to it if you really look into it.
And then also talking about the radio towers and everything. Let's not forget about the Nazi radio tower that's a little bit south of me. Is that Tuckerton or Egg Harbor or something?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, and that thing they would put it down at night, I think, and then they would raise it up during the day, and
Yeah,
you can still they have roads that go around the giant anchor blocks that are as at least as big as my porch.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I read about that. I think we're in New Jersey. I think I read about that.
Yeah, I mean,
And Fort Hancock is huge. Yeah, all the bunkers and everything that there was there. And from what I got, that was basically the last time that was used was to we were trying to keep the Nazis with the submarines out of the ocean to get to New York.
yeah, and that's a whole nother story there. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, they made it. They there were stories that they actually got up on the beach and a couple spies made it to New York and they got caught. Actually, one of them was a spy within a spy. He was one of our people acting as a spy, and when they landed in New York, he turned the other ones in.
uh,
Luckily,
so it was
they had
a
come.
spy acting as a
An undercover
spy on their
spy.
part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they were here. They had come to blow up the infrastructure of the bridges in New York. That's what they were here to do.
No, I mean it's New York,
Yeah.
so I mean, eh. um, a lot of it's surprising New Jersey alone, and everybody thinks automatically the Jersey Devil, which is another episode we're
Yeah.
gonna do, and it's a great tale.
That
And
that's folklore to the bone. That one. Yeah.
oh, it truly is. But there's so much more history and weird crap that has happened in New Jersey, and you don't have to look or dig very deep.
Some
It's
of it's
there.
in plain sight. You
Yeah.
know, some of it's like I said, Fort Hancock's in plain sight, and like I said, the Marconi Hotel is still there. There's like I said, there's a museum now. You can go in and what was this? What would have got you shot in 1950? You can go read and touch down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's
And
incredible.
all the Nike missile bases that are all over the place around here.
Oh, I love the Nike bases.
Yeah,
There was one I actually started to explore. Oh, geez, in Lumberton, and I went one night and I got to climb up on top of a tower in there. I guess maybe a satellite dish or something used to be in it, but I got to climb up it, look around. We went in like a building or two. There really wasn't much left. I wanted to get to another side of it where there were some other towers. Um, and they've since bulldozed the whole damn thing and put a bunch of houses up on it because,
yeah.
New
Those
Jersey.
Nike missile bases were all over the place.
Oh, yeah. They still have the one, was it Sandy Hook?
There's still quite a few. I mean, well, I don't know about now, but 10 years ago, there were still quite a few of them left. I don't know if they said it's all right. It's time to make these things disappear or not. But um, supposedly there's one right by somewhere by the PNC Bank Arts Center, like right in that area. If you knew where to find it.
Huh. I will have to. All right, folks, get your Google Maps out and start searching and send us your info and screenshots of wherever it is. Hey, it worked for that was it Slap Shoes or whatever it is that found that Airbase Speedway.
Oh yeah, that was a good read. I did read that. Yeah,
Uh,
if you know how to work that thing, it's pretty. You can find a lot of stuff. It was cool. Did you see that we're getting back to racing? But this isn't a racing one. But Jamie Tomano put that picture up of the racetrack in Long Branch, and then somebody found an aerial view where it was still sort of there in like 1975.
no, I didn't see that one. I'll have to check.
Yeah,
Okay.
I knew about that racetrack, but that's for another story. That's for a different podcast.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that's regardless of what you're looking for, if it's historical in any sense, whether it be aliens, military, racing, anything, historicaerials.com. That's right, historicaerials.com.
That's a whole other conspiracy. How did they have the pictures to take those aerial views and way back in the day?
They had planes.
I'm just saying, though, that was pretty good technology. When you're walking around with a camera around your neck that's the size of a VCR now, you know what I'm saying, to take a
Oh, yeah.
picture of your kid at the park.
Some of
They're up
them
there.
are very low quality. I'm not going to lie. But then they had other ones that were actually on film that were high resolution film things that got scanned in to a digital form, so you can actually zoom in, and they're very good. But then there's other ones that were from the 70s, I think, that were just essentially garbage. You can barely zoom in at all on those. But I can see how the my parents' farm before the parkway was next to it,
Okay.
and I can see how it looks. You know, you can go through different sections of years, and it's great for finding historic sites and then looking at whatever townhouses they built on top of it now.
That's a whole other thing too. A lot of people don't. When you're driving down the Parkway, a lot, especially down our area towards your area, Josh,
Hmm.
a lot of people lost their family land to that. A lot of people don't realize that, like you just said.
Um, I actually have a uh, story for that if we have time for it. It's up to you, Tim, but it relates directly to that.
Go ahead. You might as well. I don't know if by this time we're gonna have any listeners left or not, but go ahead.
This will be my last one for this one. So, and this has come from my grandmother, so it's been passed down a bit. But supposedly, there was because right behind my parents' farm, like the edge of the property, first we have there's an easement for JCP&L. They have the power lines going through, and then the parkway is right there. So honestly, you from my parents' living room, you hear the parkway. We only have like the cow pasture in between.
Uh,
Um, anyway, where the parkway is now, apparently there's an old woman that lived there. And the authorities came through and said, okay, we're taking your land, eminent domain, blah, 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 building the parkway. And I believe there would be some type of compensation. Essentially, they have to buy you out of your house. So you
yeah.
can, they can't just completely kick you out. Um, anyway, she refused to leave, and she threatened that if they took her house or tore it down, whatever, that she was going to put a curse on the place.
Okay.
And this is right around 87, 88 in that area on the Parkway. Um,
Exit 87, 88.
not the mile markers.
Okay. So, okay.
And honestly, it's a fairly mundane stretch of Parkway. There's some trees and a slight bend. I mean, it's not sharp or anything. I mean, it's just a section of the Parkway. You don't think anything of it. And you can see my parents' farm from there. Um, anyway, so ultimately they obviously took her house and demolished it. I don't know whatever happened to her, but for some reason there have always been some terrible, terrible accidents. I mean, I've watched them have to shut down the parkway and land a helicopter in that spot.
For no particular reason. There's no curve
Like
there.
I know accidents happen,
Uh,
but there's an unusual concentration in that area. And after what they initially raised the parkway speed limit from 55 to 65, if you're north of 127, ignore us. I think there's still 55 up there. Anyway, they actually went between 80 and 100, lowered it back down to 55, partially because of all the accidents that were happening in this like little stretch.
it's funny that you say that because not to make the story longer, but in that same particular area, I read an article. It was in Weird, New Jersey, and this goes back to Howell Township too. There, they claimed that it was gnomes. Did you read that article?
No, no, I remember something about Parkway Phantom, but I didn't see
Yeah,
anything
no,
about gnomes.
there was gnomes that would run out into the parkway and make the cars wreck. And
I gotta thank them.
and folklore in Howell Township is that there was. Oh, I always heard the older people talk about gnomes in the woods of Howell Township, and I never put any grain of salt to it. And then as I got older, I read about it in Weird, New Jersey, and I'm like, oh, there's the gnomes of from around here. And then I was this people believe me or not, and I did not see the gnome. We work. I worked at Bluewarts with a bunch of older people, older men, and I would always be the second guy to get there to help. The one guy got there before me in the morning. He'd open the gate, get the coffee pot going. I would get there and get the machines running and everything. And one day, he isn't older. He was 70 years old then. 65, 70. And I came into work and he was white as a ghost. I'm like, what's wrong? He goes, I just saw something in the back room, but I don't want to say this because you're going to think I'm nuts. And in the back room is where we cut all the copper, from pipes, and there's a lot of trinkets back there, brass, brass eagle door lock, whatever you're recycling. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And supposedly the gnomes are from folklore are attracted to shiny things. They would steal things and put it in their little houses and whatever they need to use. He goes, there was a gnome in the brass box, and he goes, Timmy, I saw it plain as day. He had a little gnome hat on and a little gnome jacket on, and I go, I believe you, Ed. He goes, why do you believe me? I go, because I was brought up on the folklore that there was gnomes around here. There was.
Holy crap.
I've heard about it before, and he said it waddled under the crack of the door, and now for the next half hour, I'm all outside looking for where this gnome went. You know.
So either he pulled one over on you and made you look like a fool, or something really freaky happened.
Yeah, but I've known this. I've known this guy 20 years before.
Yeah.
And we never talked about a gnome ever. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
not like I came into work every day talking about gnomes or whatever.
Right. Right.
It was just something that I happened to know about for the folklore because I was into that kind of stuff. And he was like, I saw one, and I go, I believe you. You
Wow.
know, I would have loved to saw it.
And was
But
this at their shop, like, or up?
at the junk where the junkyard is today.
Wow. Okay, so Bluett's is haunted by gnomes. That's what I learned today.
That explains a lot. Yeah.
uh, now do everything with junk materials on the race car. That's the safest thing to do right now. Protect it. But yeah, no. Maybe. I mean, something definitely happens on that area of the Parkway.
That was definitely in Weird, New Jersey. That's where I read the thing about the gnomes of the Parkway. If I don't know if their library is that fine tuned where you could Google gnomes of Parkway, Weird, New Jersey, it would come up what episode or what magazine or what number episode magazine that would be in. But that was a good read, and it went with the folklore that I was brought up on.
Yeah.
I had this
Did you
one
name him
friend.
David, by the way?
No, um, I had this one friend. I won't mention any names because this kind of stuff's kind of like sketchy, and people don't realize, don't want their names out there. But I had this one friend of mine that his grandmother swore that they had gnomes when I was like 10, 12 years old. Her story was that they had gnomes living in the woods in their backyard.
Jeez, I was worried about raccoons.
Yeah, I've never saw a gnome.
Well, now I'm going to be looking extra hard. Damn it!
Yeah, man, it might be right on your farm, Josh. For all you ask your dad, maybe your grandmother or something saw him. I don't know.
Maybe I think that right now the biggest problem is the deer that keep destroying the corn. Oh well. I think we went off of the track enough there.
I know the gnomes are the big folklore. You can't find nothing on them. Google search real quick.
I'll see if I can. Do you want me to Google Parkway gnomes or
Parkway Gnomes, Weird, New Jersey. I would put in.
Weird NJ Parkway gnomes?
I don't know if their database is that good where it comes up.
Let's see. I got the Parkway Phantom of Exit 82, Garden State Parkway. Let me try this one. It's the Index of Roadside Oddities. If I just go to Parkway. Let me scrolling. Yes, I know this is not the most exciting part of the show. Penis comes up a lot.
Oh boy.
I'm
not the one looking for penis on the Parkway, so.
Someone is.
Supposedly that's what you go to the rest areas for, but I don't know nothing about that.
We'll have to get Eric Brennan on the show. Yeah, I went there. Let me see if I can find it on page. I gotta find. I'm not as familiar.
My
Let's see.
brother Scott be pulling his hair out by now, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah. Yeah, what are you guys doing? Uh, could have should not have a unexplained close calls around exit 82. No, that's the parkway. I'm gonna have to do some deeper diving
Yeah.
on this. I'll have to look because I've been to a
I
handful of weird New Jersey things like the glowing gravestone and stuff like that. But I don't think that things are labeled as they should be in here because
yeah, I don't think their database was that strong. With you could just pull up anything and it would come up.
yeah, yeah, because glowing gravestone has two words in it, and neither one is popping up in here. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do some more research, or we can have our lovely audience try to find out some more. And honestly, if you have anything weird that you'd like to talk about on the show,
Yeah.
feel free to message us, email us at racingpodcastnj@gmail.com, and we can arrange to, or message us on Facebook through the RPM podcast page for right now, and we'll arrange to have you on the show, or just send us an email and we'll read it on the air, whatever your experience was, because there's a lot of stuff out there and a lot that we cannot explain at all. So, and other stuff I just have like on the list here. Obviously, the Jersey Devil. We'll talk more about UFO sightings. The whole DB Cooper mystery. That's a fun one.
Yes. Yes, that's a big one. Hey, there's tons about the Mothman.
The Mothman. There's a good
The
book I read.
Snallygaster is an interesting one.
There's a a short book I read. Had a handful of stories in it that some were based on some true stuff called The House on Hurley Pond Road, and that's right near
I
the
read that.
racetrack.
I read that book. I bought that book. I read it. I bought it. I never put it down. I read it cover to cover the first day I bought it.
Yeah, it was good.
And a lot of those people in there, I know personally. Some of the names I won't say any names,
Hmm.
and I actually know a very good friend of mine lived. They talk about that book. You know, there was the house on Hurley Pond Road, and then there was the second house where the
Hmm.
guy killed himself in.
Yep.
Um, when he was walking home from school or whatever. Remember the guy killed himself or whatever while he was walking home from school.
I
I
believe so.
actually I actually had a friend that lived in that house, and he said, yeah, there was definitely things going on in that house when he lived there. He wasn't going to say it was haunted, but he wasn't going to say there was no activity there. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I know. I follow
So,
you.
um, very interesting book. I suggest you buy it. It's a good book. From the friends that I know in that are mentioned in that book, none of them are going to say it's true, but they don't say it's not true. You know, it's a touchy situation with them. Some people said, "Yeah, this is such and such. I remember this happening, but I don't remember this part happening." You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
uh,
Well, that's something that if we want to, a little bit down the road, maybe in a few episodes, we could kind of do a book review. I'll reread it. I gotta dig it out, and we could talk about some of the stuff in there. And if our audience members want to read that book as well, it's called The House on Hurley Pond Road. It's a very good book. It's a short book. It shouldn't take you too much time. Um, I mean, unless you're from the 609. But anyway,
I read it one day, and I don't read books at all, so it's it's
yeah.
an easy read.
Yeah, it's an easy read, but it was pretty good. So yeah, we can kind of go over that, and then you guys can listen in and feel free to chime in with whatever. Um,
And that house is still there.
I got to see it because I know they don't really give many clues in the books, but
I
you know
yeah
everybody, so you might be
yeah I
the
know.
person to go to.
Yeah, we could go there one day if you wanted to. No problem.
Yeah, I would love to. We'll do an on-site video.
Okay.
So at that, I'm going to say, Tim, we're about an hour 40 into this. So
Yeah, no, I'm just you were doing something you were doing something to close it out, were you?
yeah,
Oh, you were mentioning what we're going to talk about. And later, Mothman, Snallygaster. There's all kinds of whatever you.
Chupacabra, Wendigos.
Yeah.
all sorts of other myths and legends, and shapeshifters, and you name it. There's a ton of stuff, and I gotta do some more weird New Jersey reading. So
Folklore, your hometown, any hometown,
yeah,
every town has a hometown ghost story. Like I said, Farmingdale's got the man that walks up and down the railroad tracks.
th-
Stuff like that.
there's a place I think
Um,
in Maryland they call it the Ticking Tomb. That's a good story. I gotta
yeah,
check up on. My friend desperately wants to go there.
Alair State Park is supposed to be really haunted.
I would not be surprised with. I mean, that is a very, very old village and a lot of history there, and I'm sure many people died there over the years. Um,
And you got all the Revolutionary War that happened around here.
hmm
You have all this, Civil War.
What is it?
A lot of that.
Monmouth Battlefield is another place.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of ghosts supposedly are over there. Um, I actually lived in a house that was haunted. We'll get to that in another episode.
I have a handful of ghost stories myself, so yeah, we'll save that for the next time. So I think what we'll do is we'll round this one out, Tim. It's we're just
Mhm.
feeling this out. I think it was a pretty good episode. I mean, I'm not gonna say it was seamless because we went on a lot of tangents, but it was
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. And we didn't do our due diligence of super research on every single subject, and I just kind of went off. This one, I kind of just went off what I had in my head. So,
You have a
um,
lot more in there than I expected, and a lot more than me. So I'd say it was you're the star of this show, and it was pretty darn good. So
I
uh,
love it. And for the most people, I'm assuming that our first couple episodes will be the people that listen to our other podcasts. Come up to me at Wall Stadium and tell me your ghost stories. We'll put you on the air just like we did our other podcast. And I understand a lot of people don't like to admit that they saw Bigfoot or they believe in ghosts or blah blah blah. I was brave enough, and Josh was brave enough to come on here. I'm sure I'll be walking through the next tour race and somebody will be yelling at me, "Hey, Bigfoot!" Yeah. But
they're going to be calling
yeah,
you Bigfoot.
yeah. Look, there's Bigfoot, whatever. But it's just all for fun. Nothing here and here is serious. And like
And if
this,
you want to be anonymous, let us know, and we'll
yeah,
keep
we
your
could
name
do
out
that.
of it.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, you got one of them sound things in there. We can make them sound different.
Oh yeah, yeah. I could. We have our harmonizer, so we can listen to Tim like this. Go ahead, Tim, talk.
Hello, hello.
Oh, hang on. I wait. There we go. I didn't turn that one thing.
Hello. Oh, there you go. This sounds like Satan.
It's Bigfoot. I told you. Now we're just goofing off. But
Yeah.
yeah. So we could do that if you wanted to be on, and we could disguise your voice. So we'll keep quiet. I promise.
Like I said, to top off the show, we did what? We did Bigfoot. We did the Gnomes.
We did Area
Um,
51.
local folklore. The local folklore is I'm big into that. I love to hear that kind of stuff. So
Oh, so do I. It's fun. Honestly, I think Tim, when maybe when the modified tour, finishes their season, maybe we can go out and do some ghost hunting or check out some weird New Jersey sites or something over the winter.
oh yeah, there's weird New Jersey stuff that goes from anything from ghost stories to the dinosaur that we touch base on the other podcast. Roadside Odysseys. There's all kinds.
The Bayville dinosaur, yeah.
Yeah, there's so many things out there. The wine bottles that used to be all over the place. There's still a couple down by you, I believe.
Okay.
The big concrete wine bottles.
Oh, I think
They're all,
yeah. I've seen one or two.
they used when me and my brother were little. There were still quite a few of those left, and over the years they've gotten knocked down and lost to progress and all that other stuff. Just so many different things in New Jersey. Like you said, New Jersey is one of the 13 original states, so it's a lot has happened here over the years.
I
I think. Okay.
I was just saying, I agree. It's a interesting state to live in for sure, but the history is pretty amazing, and everybody has a story to tell. There's something that happened somewhere, and every town has its folklore. It's not a new town. These places have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, and uh, there's something to talk about.
Especially 'cause God knows what goes on down there in the Pine Barrens where nobody goes.
Whoa.
That's all.
I have gone out there Jersey Devil hunting once with a friend, but again, we'll save that for another episode. So I think in the meantime, we'll probably close it out here. Is that all right with you, Tim?
Oh yeah. And anybody that's made it this far, thanks for listening. Please,
Like
you know,
and share and subscribe and let your friends know, and we'll see where things go from there. But it's been fun, and we're hopefully we'll see if we. I don't know exactly our schedule for this. It might be a weekly, it might be a monthly thing. We don't know yet, but
yeah, it's more of a winter thing. We just kind of want to try it out. For anybody that wanted to know how this all started, I think I said earlier that, like me and Josh, before our pre-show of our other podcast, everybody else would be trying to talk about what we're doing on the show, and me and Josh would start talking about Bigfoot or blah blah blah, and they're like, well, "You guys need to do your own show." So this was the first attempt of that, and hopefully, you enjoyed it, and hopefully, we get some feedback because this show will only get better with other people's stories.
I agree. The more people that contribute, the better it's going to get. So
Everybody's got a ghost story that their grandmother told them. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
I'd love to hear it.
All right, so we're going to close it out here, and in the meantime, while I get the music ready for us to play out, go to New Jersey.
Yeah, come explore New Jersey and read Weird New Jersey. We have no affiliation, but go read that magazine.
Definitely.